A chilling digital phenomenon has haunted the darker corners of the internet for decades. A manifestation of our deepest technological fears, wrapped in blood-red pixels. This urban legend from Japan has evolved from a simple flash animation into one of the most enduring horror stories of the digital age, allegedly claiming lives and inspiring real-world violence. What follows is the complete script for an immersive journey into the heart of the internet's most feared curse. Good evening, listeners. Welcome to the Red Room Curse, dissecting the internet's deadliest legend. I'm your host, Echo, and tonight, we step into a place so dark, some say speaking of it invites trouble. What if I told you there's a pop-up that once seen, guarantees your death? A digital curse that has allegedly claimed countless victims, leaving behind rooms painted red with their blood. A phenomenon so disturbing that it's been linked to real-world violence. Tonight, we're dissecting perhaps the internet's deadliest legend. A Japanese horror story born in the early days of the web, that continues to haunt the digital landscape to this day. I should warn you now. This episode contains disturbing content and descriptions of violence that some listeners may find upsetting. And if you're listening alone, in the dark, with only the glow of your screen for company, well, you've been warned. Let's begin. The Red Room curse first emerged from Japan in the late 1990s, during the early days of widespread internet adoption. As personal computers became common in Japanese households, so too did new anxieties about this mysterious digital realm that had suddenly invaded domestic spaces. The legend begins simply enough. You're alone, browsing the internet late at night. Your screen flickers. Just for a moment. And then it appears, a pop-up window with a vivid red background and black text. The text, written in Japanese, poses an incomplete question. Anata wa suki desu ka? Which translates to, do you like? Naturally, you try to close it. You click the X, but another pop-up appears. This time, more text is revealed. Do you like the... You try again, growing increasingly anxious as your mouse clicks frantically on the close button. But it's useless. With each attempt, more text appears, until finally, the full message reveals itself. Anata wa akai heya ga suki desu ka? Do you like the red room? As the final character appears, your entire screen turns blood red. A list begins to scroll, names of previous victims, and at the bottom, a new name appears, yours. What happens next depends on which version of the legend you encounter. In some tellings you feel a presence behind you, turn around to find nothing. When you look back at your screen, the pop-up is gone, leaving you to wonder if it was ever there at all. But the curse has taken hold. Within days, you're found dead in your home, your walls painted crimson with your own blood, the literal red room of the curse's name. In other versions, the victim develops a mysterious crack in their body that grows until they split apart. And in still others, the curse compels its victims to violent suicide, their final act painting their surroundings in gore. But what gives this urban legend its particularly chilling quality is its alleged connection to a real-world tragedy. In 2004, in the city of Sasebo, Japan, an 11-year-old girl, known only as Girl A in Japanese media to protect her identity, killed her 12-year-old classmate, Midori Satomi, by slashing her throat and left her to bleed out. When investigators examined Girl A's computer, they discovered something unsettling. Bookmarked among her favorite websites was an animation depicting the Red Room curse. This connection between digital horror and real-world violence catapulted the legend from internet obscurity to nationwide infamy. Was it merely a coincidence that this disturbed child had been viewing Red Room content before committing murder, or had something more sinister influenced her actions? The media speculation was rampant, and the legend of the Red Room curse grew exponentially in the aftermath. While skeptics dismiss the Red Room as nothing more than fiction, numerous accounts of alleged encounters have surfaced over the years. I've gathered some of the most compelling stories from those who claim to have come face to face with the curse, and somehow lived to tell their tales. Our first account comes from a former IT professional in Tokyo who wishes to remain anonymous. Here's his story. This was back in 2001, when I was working late nights in network security. I was alone in the office around 2 a.m., browsing some programming forums when my screen flickered. At first, I thought it was just eye strain, but then this red window popped up with incomplete text. Being in IT, my first thought was malware, so I tried to close it and run a scan, but it kept coming back. Each time, more text appeared until it asked if I liked the Red Room. My blood ran cold. I'd heard whispers about this, but thought it was just a stupid chain letter or something. Then my screen went completely red, and I swear I heard whispering coming from my speakers, though they were supposed to be muted. What happened next, I can't fully explain. My monitor went black, then turned back on normally, as if nothing had happened. I immediately shut down my computer and left the building. I called in sick the next day, convinced I was going to die. 3 days later, my coworker, the only other person who sometimes worked that late shift, was found dead in his apartment. Police ruled it a suicide, but witnesses reported the walls of his bedroom were splattered with red. I never told anyone what I saw that night. Part of me wonders if the pop-up was meant for him, not me. Our next story comes from a university student in Osaka in 2008, who encountered what she believes was the Red Room curse through an early social media platform. My roommate and I were into exploring weird internet stuff, creepypastas, shock sites, all that. One night she sent me a link while we were chatting online from different parts of campus. She just said, "Check this out, super creepy." When I clicked it, my browser immediately went full screen, and this red pop-up appeared. I thought it was just some prank site she'd found, so I wasn't scared at first. But when I tried to close it, more text appeared. I started freaking out when I realized what was happening. I yanked my Ethernet cable out of the wall, but the pop-up stayed on screen. The final message appeared, my screen went red, and then everything shut down. I immediately called my roommate, but she didn't answer. I ran back to our dorm room and found her just staring at her computer screen, which was completely red. She wouldn't respond to me at all. I shook her, and she finally blinked and looked at me like she was waking up from a trance. She had no memory of sending me any link. We checked her chat history, and there was no message from her account. Yet I'd definitely received one. We were both so terrified we slept in the common room with all the lights on for a week. Nothing happened to either of us, but my roommate dropped out that semester. She said she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched whenever she used a computer. A recent account from 2024 suggests the Red Room curse may have evolved for the smartphone era, echoing elements from the mysterious chamber described in university folklore. I was watching a YouTube video about internet mysteries when my phone screen glitched. Everything froze for a second, then a red screen took over with black Japanese text slowly appearing. I don't read Japanese, but I used my translation app to capture what it said. Do you like the Red Room? I tried closing the app, even restarting my phone, but it kept coming back. Eventually, I just turned my phone off completely and tried to convince myself it was some weird virus. When I turned it back on in the morning, everything seemed normal. But then I started getting text messages from my own number, all empty except for a single character each time. When I put them together, they spelled out the same question in English. This continued for days. The messages stopped suddenly after a week, but the day they ceased, my neighbor was found dead in their apartment. Police said it was natural causes, but a maintenance worker in my building told me that when they found him, he was sitting in front of his computer, and all the walls in his study had been painted a deep crimson red. I moved out the following week. I still keep my phone in a Faraday bag at night. Are these encounters real, or simply elaborate creations inspired by a well-known legend? It's impossible to verify these anonymous accounts, but they reflect the evolving nature of the Red Room legend and the very real fears people have about technology's darker potential. What makes the Red Room curse so enduring, and why does it continue to terrify nearly 3 decades after its first appearance? To answer this, I spoke with several experts in folklore, psychology, and internet culture. Dr. Yumiko Tanaka, a cultural anthropologist specializing in Japanese urban legends, offered this insight. The Red Room curse emerged at a pivotal moment in Japan's relationship with technology. In the late 1990s, the internet represented an unknown frontier entering Japanese homes. Traditional Japanese folklore has many stories of boundaries being crossed between the natural and supernatural worlds, often with dire consequences. The Red Room curse effectively translated this ancient fear into the digital age. What's particularly interesting is how the legend incorporates elements of ritual. The repeated closing of pop-ups, revealing more text each time functions, almost like steps in a summoning ritual, similar to how Hanako-san is called in school bathrooms. This ritual element makes the legend feel connected to traditional Japanese ghost stories, while being thoroughly modern. Dr. Marcus Chen, a cybersecurity psychologist, provided a different perspective. The Red Room curse plays on multiple psychological fears simultaneously. First, there's the loss of control. Your computer disobeying commands is genuinely unsettling in a world where we expect technology to be subservient to our will. Second, there's the invasion of private space, your most personal device turning against you in your own home. Third, there's the inevitability aspect. Once triggered, you cannot escape, creating a sense of helpless dread. What's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is how the legend gained power through its association with the Sasaba slashing incident. When the media reported that the young murderer had been viewing Red Room content, it created a perfect storm of moral panic. The legend became not just scary, but seemingly dangerous in a tangible way. Kenji Mori, a former developer who was active in Japan's early internet scene, offered some technical context. What many people don't realize is that in the early 2000s, browser security was much more primitive. Pop-up blockers weren't standard, and websites could do things that would be impossible today. There were actually malicious sites that could spawn endless pop-ups, or make your screen flash in ways that might trigger seizures. While I don't believe any site could actually cause physical harm directly, these technical vulnerabilities made the Red Room legend feel plausible to many people. I've seen some evidence suggesting the original Red Room animation may have been created as a form of social commentary about internet addiction and isolation in Japanese society. The Red Room could be interpreted as representing the danger of being trapped in digital spaces, disconnected from human contact. These expert perspectives highlight different facets of the legend's power, but they all point to a common theme. The Red Room curse embodies our ambivalent relationship with technology. We invite these devices into our most intimate spaces, yet we remain anxious about what might be inviting itself in along with them. The legend also operates on multiple levels of fear. On the surface, there's the supernatural horror of a deadly curse transmitted through digital means. Beneath that, there's the more realistic fear of technology's influence on vulnerable minds, highlighted by the Sasaba slashing connection. And at its core, perhaps there's an existential dread about our increasing dependence on systems we don't fully understand or control. In the years since its emergence, the Red Room curse has transcended its origins as a simple flash animation to become deeply embedded in internet folklore. Its influence can be seen across media, from horror films to video games, and it has evolved alongside the technology it critiques. In 2016, a short film titled The Red Room Curse was released, directly inspired by the urban legend. More recently, the 2024 thriller Red Rooms explores similar themes of dark web voyeurism and digital violence, though it takes the concept in new directions. The captivating film draws viewers into an active relationship with an enigmatic anti-hero, a fashion model fixated on a man accused of creating snuff films for sale on the dark web. The term Red Rooms in this context refers to sites on the dark web that livestream illicit content, a modern evolution of the original curse concept. The legend has also influenced horror game developers, particularly in the Japanese indie horror scene, where games frequently feature cursed technology and deadly digital encounters. The unsettling atmosphere and chilling encounters in many horror games often draw inspiration from Japanese urban legends like the Red Room curse, tapping into primal fears about technology. The concept has even inspired creative storytelling formats, with horror podcasts adopting techniques that set scenes in spooky worlds, introduce eerie settings, and develop characters in frightening scenarios, much like we're doing right now. Perhaps the most interesting evolution of the Red Room curse legend is how it has been absorbed into broader conversations about the dark web and digital dangers. The term Red Rooms has taken on a life of its own in internet discourse, often used to describe alleged sites where viewers can pay to watch torture or murder, essentially the commercialization of the original curse's premise. This evolution reflects our changing relationship with the internet. In the late 1990s, when the legend first appeared, the fear was centered on what might find you online, a curse that comes to you through your screen. Today, as we've become more aware of the internet's darker corners, the fear has shifted to what humans might willingly seek out and create in digital spaces. The legend continues to resonate because, despite all our technological advancement, we still harbor deep anxieties about the digital realm. Algorithms track our movements online, targeted ads seem to read our minds, and social media platforms seem designed to addict rather than connect. In this context, is the Red Room curse really so fast? A malevolent digital entity that slips through our defenses and exerts control over us? Perhaps that's why, even in 2025, whispers of new Red Room encounters still circulate on message boards and social media. The specific details may change. Now it's a mysterious smartphone notification or a glitched video call, but the core fear remains the same, that what we access through our screens might, in turn, access us. As we've explored tonight, the Red Room curse is more than just a creepy story shared in the darker corners of the internet. It's a digital-aged fable that has evolved alongside our relationship with technology, reflecting our deepest anxieties about the increasingly blurred boundaries between our online and offline lives. Whether you believe the accounts we've shared tonight, or dismiss them as creative fiction, the legend's enduring power is undeniable. It persists because it taps into something primal. Our fear of losing control, of being watched, of technology turning against us. So the next time you're browsing alone late at night, and your screen flickers unexpectedly, perhaps showing a flash of red, what will you do? Will you dismiss it as a glitch, or will a tiny part of you wonder if you've just encountered something more sinister? If a strange pop-up appears, asking an incomplete question, will you be brave enough, or foolish enough to click the close button and see what happens next? The boundary between urban legend and reality has always been permeable. Stories gain power when we invest belief in them. Perhaps somewhere in the vastness of the internet, something is waiting, watching through your screen right now, eager to ask, do you like the Red Room? Thank you for listening to the Red Room Curse, dissecting the internet's deadliest legend. I'm your host, Echo, reminding you to check your browser settings, update your security software, and maybe leave a light on tonight. Ever wondered what binds the dead to the world of the living? Next week, we'll delve into the haunting tale of the Pakongan Indonesian spirit, ensnared in its burial shroud. What ancient rituals keep it tethered, and what happens when they fade? Uncover the spine-chilling truths behind its restless wanderings. Until then, tread lightly in the digital darkness. Some mysteries aren't content to stay buried.